Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here in Anguilla today. We're looking at the latest version of the SimUpdate4 Beta, which is 1.6.30. We are in the C172 G1000 today for a very specific reason, or a few very specific reasons. In SimUpdate4, Asoba has used this plane, as they often do, as kind of the demo for some new physics updates that they've done. And what they've done is they've changed how weight and balance is handled, and they've also changed what they call rotational dynamics, which has to do with ground contact and basically runway alignment during landing, and we'll talk about that during the video. We're also going to talk about the new ground handling, the new CFD changes that they've made, which affect ground effect during landing. We'll talk about that as well. Let's get into the airplane here. And one thing I've been trying to do is trying to get the camera position higher, because I'm pretty tall in real life and I can't land an airplane without being able to see over the cockpit. But in any event, let's go rotating beacon on. We'll go mixture rich. There is no carb heat. Master and battery switches on. We'll go fuel pump on. Let's wait for the G1000 to kick up here. Let's crack the throttle. We'll go toes on the brakes. No need to start, no need to prime. So let's take a look outside, make sure there's nobody out there to kill or maim. And there's a good start. RPM's at about 1,000. Nav and strobe lights coming on, fuel pump coming off, fuel flow is good. Avionics master coming on. Alright, altimeters are set 2 ways, and we'll turn this on. This did this to me the other day. I don't quite know. I don't quite know what this is all about. Can we just go back, please? Thank you. Alright, and I'm happy. Alright, so let's see here. Let's make sure there's the landing light. Let's turn our taxi light on. Alright, fuel pump is working. Put in 1 notch of flaps for the start. We've got live traffic enabled. Everything is pretty well cranked up. So let's release the parking brake here. I want fuel tanks on both. Alright, so live traffic in Anguilla, and happy Thanksgiving, by the way, to everybody. Let's test the brakes. Brakes are working. And this time of year in Anguilla, that's what you're going to see, is a lot of jets. You're going to see a lot of jets. And so it's no surprise to see them. So I have not deleted my shader caches or my rolling cache for this update, and one might call that foolhardy, who knows. But I'm just hopeful. I never had to do that in prior betas. I was never really worried about that, but in SimUpdate 4, for whatever reason, it seems to work a lot better with that. Why don't we do a quick engine run up just for kicks, right? Why don't we do that? We'll do some real pilot stuff here. Alright, mixture is rich. We'll go fuel pump on and throttle up to 1700 RPM. It's about 1700 RPM for the run-ups on the Continental engines that you typically find in the Cessnas. Air 1690, that's 17, right? Perfect. We'll go left magneto. You want less than 150 RPM drop. There's 1590, it's 110. Back to both. Comes back up. We'll go right magneto. Again, about 1590. You want less than a 50 RPM drop between the two. There is no carb heat to check. There is no vacuum system to check. Let's turn the fuel pump off and we'll check fuel flow. Fuel flow is good. Alright, so now we'll bring the power back. We'll bring it back to idle. The way you know your engine is ready for departure is if you pull it back to idle and it runs smoothly. If you pull it back to idle and it kind of coughs and hiccups, then she's a no ready for flying. Alright, so we'll set this here back and release the parking brake. And why don't we check our flight controls as well. We'll go full left. It is oh wait a minute. Oh yes, I'm sorry. Okay, brain is working now. Up towards me, it's up on that side. Down on that side. We'll go full right aileron. The way I remember this is up towards me. In other words, when I turn towards the right, then this side should be up. So up, down on that side. We'll go flaps all the way down. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am your pilot. Flaps all the way down on that side. All the way down on that side. We'll go flaps all the way up. All the way up on that side. All the way up on that side. Check the elevator. Elevator is good. We'll check the rudder. Rudder is good. Alright, toes on the brakes. Let's set the aileron. Yes, brain sometimes takes a little bit, which is all good. Alright, we're entering an active runway, so we're going to put the landing light on. So we're going to back taxi here a little bit. And should be good to go. Beautiful day. Live weather, live traffic. Settings pretty much maxed. Yeah. So even when you're, so the crosswind dynamics, this rotational dynamic stuff, it's about how the wheels, essentially the tires, react to side loads, right? And what's a side load? So a side load is if you're landing in a crosswind and you don't correct for that crosswind, and let's say you land with your nose over here, but you are traveling parallel down the runway, but your nose is off to one side, and when you land, you're gonna have a side load on the airplane, and believe you me, in real life, you feel that. You absolutely feel that, and in the sim, you don't. But that's neither really here nor there. What the issue is in the sim is the way the airplane reacts to touching down in that kind of a situation, and it doesn't really handle it very well. Oh, we got incoming traffic here. We'll get off to the side. There's the one thing about live traffic, right, is you're not live. You're not a part of their world. Another private jet, for sure. Yep. So, the sim now should handle that better. And it's not only about landing, it's also about taking off. Taking off in a crosswind is as much of, let's see, mixture is rich, which it shouldn't have been. We'll go fuel pump on, landing light is on. So taking off in a crosswind is just as much of a challenge, really, as landing. Well, it's perhaps not as much of a challenge, but you can do it poorly. And if you do it poorly, you can wind up with a poor result, with a poor outcome. So we'll just hold short here. So I'm very interested to hear or to see how this all works in this new version of Sim Update 4. So we're just going to hop over to St. Maarten today to Princess Juliana, and then we'll go over to Grand Casse, which is the French side of Princess Juliana, or French side of St. Maarten, and then we'll come back here to Anguilla. I'm not going to do St. Bart's today. And he's vacating the runway. Alright, so heading indicator checks with the runway number. Takeoff power is coming in. Takeoff power is set. Engine instruments are in the green. Airspeed is alive. 55. We can rotate and just let the airplane fly itself off the ground. And very nice so far. Roll in some pitch trim here. Might be a little breezy today. Let's be careful here. The thing I've never really liked about this airplane is that it's just a little bit twitchy. There's 400 feet AGL. AGL, above ground level. What are the different types of heights that we have? We have AGL, which is above ground level, which is exactly what you think it means. We have MSL, which is mean sea level, which is your height above mean sea level. And those are the altitudes. This right here is MSL. That's mean sea level. Might have some Saharan dust down here from the looks of things. That's your height above mean sea level, and that's the altitude that we use in aviation. So there's 1,000 feet. We'll turn the fuel pump off, check the fuel flow. There's no fuel pressure in this airplane. There's my Anguilla stutter. We've talked about that. It happens at 1,000 feet ish, right in this area, pretty much every time. So, whoops, see, I can't fly backwards. I just can't do it. I don't have the ability. There's 1,450 feet. 50 feet below your desired cruise altitude. Just make a power reduction. The other thing you should do is put your flaps up. And if you're like me, just make a power reduction until you hear a change in the engine power. And once you hear that change, you're generally going to be in a pretty good spot for your engine RPM. I'm looking for 2,400 here to cruise. So let's bring that back a little bit. Just bring it back to about 2,380, because as I trim the nose down, that RPM is going to come up. In a fixed pitch propeller airplane, which is an airplane that doesn't have a blue knob, in other words, you can't change the propeller pitch, trimming the nose down will increase your RPM, and trimming the nose up will decrease your RPM. So in other words, when you're climbing and leveling off for cruise, you should pull if you want your RPM to be 2,400, you should pull it back to about 2,380. And as you trim the nose down, it's actually going to increase for you. And if you're descending to level off, you should and you want, let's say you want to level off at 2,200 RPM, you're approaching an airport, pull the power back to about 2,230 or 2,240, and by the time you level off, it's going to come out right at 2,200, right at what you're looking to achieve. One of the fun little tricks about flying simple airplanes. And as you can see, a beautiful evening. I still have my registration from a 777. I wish they would let you save the registration by airplane, right? Instead of you just have one registration number that attaches to any airplane that you fly. It's sort of silly. So I did a 777 flight the other day, and and it just kept the reg. So, all right, so we'll try St. Maarten. So I sort of checked the weather, but not completely. So how do you check? How do you know what your crosswind is if you're landing? If you don't have that information, how do you know? I'll show you. I will show you. Let's bug our runway heading here. Runway 10, we're going to set this to 10. There you go. Just a reminder, just a little reminder. And the cool thing about bugging your runway heading is, now if we turn like this, first of all, let's bring the power back to about 2200. If you turn like this and put the runway heading on this left hash mark, you are on a left base. For the runway, you don't have to guess. Kind of cool. And now when that in a high wing airplane, when you're making that kind of leftish turn to get on base, look down final and check and see if you see it's a great time to check and see if you see any traffic. Alright, we're under, I believe it's 110 knots in this plane, so we'll put some flaps in here. So we'll talk about how to judge what your crosswind is, and we're going to make a nice, normally I'd kind of angle it in a little bit more, but we're going to square off this pattern and fly a straight in final here, which will give me ample opportunity to goof up. That's what we like to see. I'm going to get the nose down now. I don't want that speed to drop anymore. Alright, always turn your base to final leg early. Too early is better than too late. Take another look. Not going to see much. But too early is better than too late. Alright, we're good. We're spot on. The reason too early is better than too late is because we just turned it in too early, right? And now what we can do is just inch over and get on center line. Whereas if you turn too late, you can get yourself in a bit of a sticky situation trying to pull the nose back around to get on center line. So what we're going to look for now is we're going to look for, I don't want any more than about 400 feet a minute descent rate and about 75 knots. So get out. The way you can tell what the crosswind is, first of all, it's right here in the G1000. But if you didn't have that, the way you can tell is get on center line and stay on center line. And if you find yourself getting blown a bit off to the left like we are, guess what? The wind is from the right. Alright, so third notch of flaps, that's all I'm going to use for this landing. Alright. Like I said, I don't really like this airplane. Alright. These RPM numbers just don't seem really realistic to me. See how we're getting blown off to the left? And in a plane like this, you don't want any more than like 300 or 400 feet per minute descent rate on final, because your ground speed is pretty slow. And if you descend to 500 feet a minute, you're gonna wind up low. And I am slow and low. Not the most beautiful display here. Get the nose down here a little bit. Keep the nose pointing at the runway. 65 knots, that's good. Really wasn't that nice of an approach, but there's a stutter. There's a stutter. But the runway tiles are in, so that's good. See, I can't see over the nose, which to me is annoying because I'm pretty tall in real life, and there are not many airplanes that I can't see over the nose in real life, and I find it annoying not to be able to see over the nose in the sim. So engine instruments in the green, 55 knots. Just pull the nose up and let the airplane fly itself off the ground. And we're going to climb a little bit here. Come on now. That was the intention anyway. And you always climb at an airspeed. You don't climb at a vertical speed, you climb at an airspeed. It's a common mistake I see. VY right there, see that? That's your climb speed. The problem is, if you can't see over the cowling, even though you can see on the synthetic vision down here, go a notch of flaps up. I still don't like not being able to see, so one of the things, talked about it in my takeoff video, one of the things that you want to do is get the nose down to pick up some speed. But the other reason you want to get the nose down is so you can see over the cowling. It doesn't really seem like this is climbing all that well today, but at the same time, in this environment, it might not climb very well. Humid, hot temperatures are not good for piston engines, so you might have days where they don't climb that well. So we'll do 1,500 feet as we make a little left circular pattern here around the island of St. Maarten. See, this is the French side over here, Dutch side over here. Out straight ahead pretty much is St. Bart's. That is Philipstown right there. That is the capital of the Dutch side. Alright, about 1,450 feet. We're not going to look at the RPMs. We're going to do this by ear. Let's pull it back to you here. Nice reduction. And now we're just going to let the nose come down and settle. See that? We'll come down to right about level flight. Just pitch the nose down a little bit more, put in a little bit of trim. Now let's take a look. 24, look at that, 2380, 2390. I was aiming for 2400, not too bad. And see, as we put a little bit of nose down trim in, that's going to come up to 2400 without me even touching the throttle. Good, good, good. Why is... Let's go fuel pump on. The fuel's a little bit unbalanced. If the fuel is unbalanced by a thimble in Flight Sim 2020 or 24, the airplane just tips over on its side. It's a little frustrating, but so you really have to keep your fuel balanced unless you're in something that has rudder trim, which I don't believe this airplane has. Alright. So, touchdown felt good. The flare felt really nice, which is where we're going to see the CFD changes for the CFD updates that they've made. And CFD is computational fluid dynamics. And that is basically physics-based flight model in the sim, as opposed to like a mathematical flight model in the sim, like we would have had in like Prepared and in FSX, that sort of thing. So now the flight model is based on, so air is a fluid, right? And the way the air moves around and moves around the fuselage and so on and so forth. Am I as boring as I think? I probably am. It's got to be Saharan dust. So you believe it or not, so we are, I don't know, 5,000 miles west of the Sahara Desert right here. And every year you get this. So what looks like fog or mist, right? That's actually dust from the Sahara Desert. Some years it's worse than others. There's a little bar right in this place, right in this hotel. There's a little bar right there. It gives you an amazing view of St. Bart's on a nice day, which today is not. It's a nice little hotel right there. So anyway, this is all Sahara dust, and in certain days it's actually uncomfortable. It's like genuinely uncomfortable to breathe. Now we're coming up on our next destination here, which is this airport, Grand Cas. You can see the runway comes out this way. So when you're flying past the end of a runway, you always want to keep an eye on that runway, because if something fast is taking off, let's say a Gulfstream is taking off out of there, you can very quickly find yourself in a compromising situation. I mean, really, you shouldn't do it. You should either stay well above the problem is what is well above the climb rate, right? Because a Gulfstream can climb pretty fast. So it's a big beach tourist area right here. Lots of restaurants and lots of restaurants and a couple hotels, but mainly condos, like Airbnb condos. And again, I have this you just the nose is just pitching up and down and up and down and up and down. So, but what are you gonna do? It's not perfect. How can it not be perfect? I just can't understand. All right. So this is a bit of an odd one because the runway is right over here. But you can't really fly a normal pattern here because because of the terrain, you have to come out really wide. Okay, and we're less than 110 knots, so I'm gonna go 1 notch of flaps here. Go fuel pump on. So the trick is to this airport, first of all, is not to get in an accelerated stall. So right now, we're basically looking down the final approach path, so you want to keep an eye out. Have a look-see. Is there any traffic? It's one thing we don't do nearly enough of in the sim, or in real life for that matter. Keep an eye out for traffic. We'll go another notch of flaps. And so what pilots do coming in here is they aim right for the end of this beach, right there, and they just cut it in. So there's 2 notches of flaps. We'll go a 3rd notch, get ourselves nice and steady here. Come on. We're not doing that. No. Nope. Not doing that. Alright. See, again, I've got to bring power in. I just don't.
500.
See, and then you can just start angling in. I just think that the speeds and the power settings are just too high. The power settings are too high for this airplane. For landing, it's just too high. I mean, this you should be, and here when you're low. Okay, so I'm 63 knots, 61 knots, and slow. Don't just try to angle up a little bit and try to climb. Try to get back on glide slope slowly. Bring in power, level off, and don't keep descending until you get back on glide slope. Don't make minor corrections when you get in that situation. Make big corrections. And if you get yourself in too much of a situation, go around. I'm not right now, but the problem is now I'm gonna have a lot of energy here at the end as opposed to not much. And this is a little bit more of a left to right crosswind, which is good. There we go. There's some power out. There we go. There's another little hesitation. Alright, power's out. Let's see how the crosswind handling is here. Would help if I did a decent landing, but that doesn't feel too bad. I mean, that feels a lot more controlled. See the crosswind correction I'm holding in? That felt a lot more controlled, even though it wasn't a great landing. It felt a lot more controlled. on the ground. There's a bit of a lean. Speaking of leaning, let's lean the mixture here. There's a bit of a lean on the touchdown, but once I got both mains on the ground, it really it settled quickly and didn't kind of, you know, you have that kind of ice skating effect that you used to get in this sim. And that definitely I mean, actually, in some ways it's better to have a little bit of a botched landing, because that's a situation where I would have expected the to have a bit more of an issue. Let's bring flaps to 1 notch. Let's check our trim. I don't mind having a little bit more nose up trim. I'd rather have a tiny bit more nose up trim than not quite enough. Alright. Got enough runway from right here, so yeah, you can see, yeah, look at that. That is a pretty stiff crosswind. So really not actually too bad. So this is going to be good too to get a nice crosswind takeoff in here. Get out on center line. And now let's get that crosswind correction in. Takeoff power is coming in. This is going to be a good little test right here. Right rudder, nice. Oh, that feels so much better. That right there. And once we're airborne, let that correction. Now that felt way better as a crosswind departure than anyone I think I've ever felt in this sim. That was great. And whoopsie, yeah, let's not have this flight end in spectacular fashion here. Trying to get a nice screenshot. So, based on my poor landing and my very nice takeoff, I think there's a definite change for the better. Definite change for the better in the ground physics, like way better. Let's get the airspeed's coming up nicely, so let's get rid of these flaps. Let's get back to is fuel pump on? No, there's fuel pump on. And let's get back to both tanks here. Fuel pump off. Beautiful views. Alright. Go 1,500 feet here for our sojourn to Anguilla. Let's not do that. See, it's still got the leans. And see, we'll pull that power back until you hear the power change. And we'll wait until it levels off, and I bet you we're right at 2,400 RPM. See? Pretty close. Pretty darn close. We're going to have to bring it back a little bit more. But definite improvement, like really nice improvement. In the physics, really nice. Airport is straight ahead. I mean, that is a definite improvement in the ground handling, which is exciting. It's really the only area of physical handling in the airplane, in the sim, that you can complain about, and you can. It's a little dicey at times. Gosh, what I wouldn't give to do this in real life. Right now, I mean, right now I have done it in real life, but. Beautiful, no? I was gonna do a commercial check ride landing, but power off 180. But I think I'd rather do a decent approach and make sure that and be able to check the ground physics again. So sandy ground over there. I wonder what people are doing in sandy ground tonight. Hanging out at Tasty's, Chef Dale, having a nice dinner. And we're flying as we should be. This is how you cross an airport. This is how you cross over an airport. Cross over the center of the runway. Why do you do that? Because nobody's flying over the center of the runway. People are either landing or taking off. So in a lot of ways, the over top of the runway is the safest place to be. So we'll reduce power, put in a notch of flaps. Crocus Bay right down there, beautiful spot. You can see where the see that just change that heading just a little bit. It's where the see that dock right there. It's a beautiful view. Alright, and now see when you get that heading indicator down at the bottom of your bottom of your heading indicator, which is what that is down there essentially, then you know you're on a nice base leg. And we're wide, we're pretty wide, so I'm going to start my turn in early here. Put in another notch of flaps, keep the nose down, and I'm gonna I'm not gonna overturn my base because we're in a little closer than I would normally be, and glare is a thing in airplanes, believe me. There's sandy ground. That might be Muddy's Pride right there. Might be Muddy's Pride. When I'm in Anguilla, we watch the early in the morning, you watch the ships go out, and there's a cargo ship called Muddy's Pride. And it's just my, there's probably nobody in the world who thinks Muddy's Pride is a cool thing, but I always watch it go out in the morning. There's 3 notches of flaps. I'm happy. We'll go keep that 77 knots of ground speed. 77 knots of airspeed, rather. 55. Keep the nose down. Keep the nose down. Keep the nose down. But see, But what happens, you get into this area right in here and you can really get some downdrafts, and that's what we're getting right now. So keep about, nope. Alright. That is nice. Let's just keep, yep. People don't, you don't realize as much in the sim as you do in real life how dynamic flying is. It's not, very rarely like a set it and forget it and just kind of glide on down, especially in small airplanes. There's a lot of, oh, that's, there's a lot of moving and jiving here. Hopefully we don't get into the, see what you would want to do, by the way, in real life, you would want to land beyond where he touches down. We're obviously not going to do that. Oh yeah, this feels way different. I mean, that feels like landing. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I mean, especially in the G1000, the stock 172 just has not had that nice feeling in the flare, and boy, did that feel good right there. I mean, it felt like flying. Really, really nice. Certainly no result of my airmanship. So, oh, look at that. There's the C414 from Anguilla Air Services. How cool is that? So that's the one thing about live traffic, is that, again, you're not like a participant, you know? So you don't really exist. That's the C414 right there. From good old Anguilla Air Services. So let's turn the landing light off, the taxi light coming on. I always take this front parking spot in the sim, even though I'm not entitled to it in real life in a 172. There's a Saab, is that a Saab 400? Is that what it is? Alright. Throttle is idle, mixture idle, cut off. Let's set the parking brake. Go avionics master off, lights coming off, mags off, master and battery switches off, flaps are up, and that wasn't too bad. No frame gen on during this flight, by the way. And this airport, by the way, is not going to be here next time I go to Anguilla, which is really sad. Clayton J. Lloyd is the father of Anguillan aviation. He died in a Christmas Eve plane crash in 1977. But anyway, I have to say the rotational dynamic stuff, the CFD stuff, all the physics stuff they've done here is just tremendous. And so these physics changes, the ground physics changes, have been implemented, and the weight and balance changes. So what the weight and balance changes are, like when you're burning off fuel over the course of a flight, the control, you know, the feel of the airplane is gonna change. And that's probably American Airlines E170. And so I'm just gonna get in the cockpit so it's a little quieter. So as you burn off fuel, the feel of the airplane changes because the weight changes. Not only that, but the moment changes. The what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody help me. What's the word I'm looking for? center of gravity. Thank you. I mean, it's 3 words, but anyway, center of gravity changes. So you don't have the same airplane to land with that you had when you took off, because you're burning off fuel. So that's what the weight and balance changes are, and that's where the new terminal is being built right now. And so I didn't really get a chance to check those, but the physics changes that they've implemented in Sim Update 4 on the C172 G1000 that we just flew, and the extra 300, based on what I just felt in that flight, tremendous. And they're going to roll those changes out to it's going to be, the settings are going to be available for developers to use and to implement on their aircraft. And this is, from what I just experienced, is going to be a huge improvement in the sim, in Sim Update 4. Everybody's talking about performance. Performance is amazing. This stuff changes the flying, and that's a huge difference. Hope you guys are having a great day. I gotta go get ready for Thanksgiving dinner. And questions, comments, feedback, leave them in the comments section below. Wish everybody a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.